Greetings, everyone. This is Valencia Dantzler, aka Mother Diva, the official Madam Ambassador of House Music, and you're tuned in to Mother Diva's House Special Segment Review. You know, this particular live is kind of emotional for me. Um, this whole documentary on R. Kelly has just taken over social media. Um, Everybody's talking about it. It's just, it's painful, it's hurtful, and it's especially hurtful for me because I knew Robert from Kenwood High School. I'm also a victim of sexual abuse, and I've also been that person that has done the chasing. And a lot of people don't understand when you're sexually molested, it opens up your sexuality and you become sexual. And I found out last year because I didn't see the interview that Robert did with Tavis Smiley, where he actually admitted that he had been sexually molested from the time he was 7 to the time he was 12. And unfortunately, he did not get counseling. See, the problem in the community, or as I should say, the Black community, and I don't like to do Black, red, white, African American community, but the problem is we always say fix it Jesus. It's fix it Jesus. Jesus gonna fix everything, okay? And people of color, a lot of them at that time, they don't really believe in seeing a therapist or getting counseling or getting some type of help, because this is a sickness, it's an illness when you are addicted to this type of behavior. And I'm hurt because I remember when he first started. We are all children of Dr. Lena Mclin. And first of all, did y'all see Lena cursing on TV? That's what tripped me out. Okay, all my Kenwood Academy people, you know, I've known Lena Mclin for 33 years, and I ain't never heard her curse. And when she said bullshit on television last night, I was like, did she just curse? And you know, we just celebrated her 90th birthday party last year, and Robert sent a video. But there is a lot of factors. If you've been looking, and some more episodes are going to come on tonight. There are a lot of factors that went into this documentary, and it followed so many different aspects of it. You have his aspect, you have the girl's aspect, you have his wife, you have his handlers, you have all these different aspects going on. But the one thing that I didn't hear enough of is these young girls who throw themselves at celebrities and they chase celebrities. And let me be clear, I am certainly not trying to diminish these women as victims. But if you listen to some of the testimony, one girl said that she lied to him about her age, which she really didn't have to. I mean, everybody knew he liked young girls. But she said she told him that she was 19 when she was really 16. And so she goes to his home and he starts grooming her on what he wants her to do to serve him. Because basically, if you really want to break it down, Robert was basically a pimp. I mean, that's basically really what he was. He was running a pimp business on the side. I mean, think about how he brought them in. He used his talent to get these girls in, and he really did not have to just run after these girls. They was coming to him, but in the beginning, he was out there on the prowl looking at them. So, just to give you guys like my background, and it's time to heal. I mean, I really want people to try to find a healing with this. But I was sexually molested at 5 years old in a church bathroom by a 15-year-old girl. And I ain't afraid to say the church was Sixth Grace Church on 35th and Cottage Grove, and I hate even going over there in that area because of what happened to me. And quite frankly, I wish the damn church would burn down. That's just how I feel. I'm sorry. I mean, what that did to me started me on a journey of sexual expression that my experiences, I became addicted to sex. I became addicted to oral sex, and it started there. And this is why it is so important that we protect our children, because they will grow up and they will become sexually active at an early age. They will become sexually abusive themselves. When you have a sex addiction, then you are abusive sexually, and you become very aggressive. So what happened to me was that this teenage girl took me in the bathroom, and she tried to get me to put my mouth on her vagina. And, I was a chubby kid. I'm still a chubby kid. And I just was like, well, this don't look like it tastes good. I mean, where's the candy? So, this dumb bitch didn't even know how to do it right. She didn't even have no fucking candy, and it looked disgusting to me. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So she went and got another little girl and brought her in, coerced her into doing it. And I like stood there and watching this. And I'm 5 years old, and so I'm experiencing this. And then she had me like lay down on top of her, and just lay on her. And, she felt soft like a pillow. I was a kid, I was 5. So after that, like when I turned 6 years old, I used to play with this little girl down the hall. And she had a little brother. He might have been 2 or 3. He was running around the house, and he had on his pajamas, and he had a hole in his pajamas where his penis was. And I saw his penis. And so when I looked at it, it flashed me back in my mind to that moment when she tried to get me to put my mouth on her. In my mind, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to put my mouth on that. So I'm 6 years old. This little boy is maybe 2 or 3. And I try to put my mouth on his penis because I thought that's what I was supposed to do because what was done to me. And he was so smart. He just covered it up. So I'm growing up with this secret, okay? And I'm developing. So when I get about 10, I'm kind of thick and chubby and, breast and everything. And my family was close with this minister, and they had children, and we played together. So the minister had a son. He was about my age. And so we call ourselves trying to do it. And so we was, no pun intended, bumping, grinding, bare, but there was no penetration. So when I turned 12, that's when I had actually had sex. I was in the sixth grade and I was dating a guy in the sixth grade, and we planned it. I went over his house. You know, we were some smart kids. I mean, we had condoms and everything. He had condoms. You know, because what we was taught when we was kids is just don't get pregnant. You know, you didn't want to catch a disease either, but it was like, don't bring home no babies, especially the era I grew up in. My mama was like, you don't bring no illegitimate babies in my house. You gotta be married to have a kid. So I was penetrated. At 13, I started having sex with a 20-year-old man. That relationship lasted off and on for 3 years. Well, when I was 16, I went to college. I met a guy, he was 21. I started dating him. His parents, I lied about my age, and I'm telling y'all my story because I want to show you how these guys, how these guys connect with girls, and then their background, because oftentimes abusers meet other abusers, or victims will get with other victims because they share that in common. One of the girls that was talking on the show, the connection that she had with Robert is that Robert told her he had been molested. She had been molested too. That was their connection. And people that's on the prowl, they look for that. They look for girls or people that's broken. They look to find that connection because it's an easier prey. But when you've been through this in your life, your mind is fucked up anyway. So I had lied about my age. There was an incident that occurred, and you know, I said I was 17, which I was really 16. And his parents was very upset with him because they thought I was 17 getting ready to turn 18, but I was actually 16 getting ready to turn 17. So I was with this guy. Now, going back to my Kenwood days, when I got in high school at 14, I went to Sullivan High School first on the north side of Chicago. Then I transferred to Kenwood. After 2 months, I left there and went to Kenwood. I went to Kenwood in 1985. Robert was supposed to graduate from Kenwood in 85, but something happened where he didn't graduate. He used to come up to the school all the time. So I'm going to be clear as I tell my story, because I did not go to high school with R. Kelly or Robert Kelly, but we were at the school doing stuff at the same time. So I came later, but he was always there. Robert had always been there. And so what happened was, when I first met him, we all used to hang out in front of the school and listen to house music and smoke weed and get high. We smoking cigarettes and just, you know, doing stuff that we had no business doing. We should have had our ass in class. A lot of us was cutting class. A lot of us was on lunch, you know, or whatever. And so I would hear Robert Kelly. I kept hearing Robert Kelly all the time. I had never seen him. I didn't know nothing about him. I said, well, who is Robert Kelly? Oh, he can sing, and he's a singer. He's singing. He come to see Dr. Mclin and Miss Mclin and all of that. I said, oh, okay. So time moved on. And then I finally saw him. And so we would talk, hey, Robert, how you doing? He's like, hey, how you doing? You know, and I said, oh, you're here to see Miss Mclin. So he was constantly coming back and forth seeing Miss Mclin. Okay. So that was kind of how I would see him on a regular basis. He was always coming up to Kenwood to see Miss Mclin. And so I kind of stayed away from Miss Mclin because, see, the thing about Lena Mclin is once she get her meat hooks in you, she gonna try to make you sing. And I was in band, and the band and the band was on the music room for the band was on the other side of the school. You had the auditorium that separated the band room from Miss Mclin's choir room. So I really learned more about Miss Mclin in '86 when I was a sophomore, but I stayed away from her because I didn't want her trying to make me get in the choir and sing. So I was real smart. I was hiding a lot from Miss Mclin. Okay, because she gets you, honey. She would listen. I'm gonna tell you something about Lena Mclin. Lena Mclin, she has so much power at Kenwood that she would get you kicked off of the basketball team, whatever team. If she wanted you to sing, she would get you kicked out of everything. That was just because, that was Lena. That was just how she was. So what happened was I would see him back and forth. And so then I ended up leaving Kenwood because I wasn't going to school. When I was 14, my father was killed by a drunk driver. I just didn't care about life no more. It was my life was just, I just didn't care. So I wasn't really in school a lot. I loved music. I was in the band. Like I said, I was in band at Kenwood. I played drums, and I just was fucking up. So I ended up leaving and transferring to a school called Cosmopolitan when I was 16. And I got my diploma. And then I went to college. And that's when I met the guy who was 21. But I still would come back up to Kenwood to see all of my friends, because had I stayed in Kenwood, I would have graduated in '89. And so a lot of my friends were still there, even though I was in college. Being sexually abused as a child, you mature very fast. You learn things quick. You become an adult. But at the same time, there's a part of you that's a child. So, and I want to be careful when I say these things, because y'all will be up in the comments acting crazy, and if you come at me funky, I'm just gonna block and delete you. But there was a part of Robert that was grown but also still a kid, because he had his childhood, his innocence stripped from him so young, and I understand that. Okay. But at some point, you also have to maintain self-control. Now, when I turned 17, I was still coming back and forth to Kenwood, going to see Miss Mclin. I mean, this is what we all did. Everybody that loved Lena, it was like the Lena Mclin show. And I mean, even looking at the documentary, a lot of us that went to Kenwood and experienced Lena Mclin, it started to become like not so much about Robert, but it's like, did y'all see Lena Mclin on the movie? So that's kind of like our thing, because I know a lot of people are watching this around the world who have never experienced Dr. Mclin. If you ever experience her, she would change your life. She's like very spiritual and a prophet, and she could tell you what's going to happen to you in life and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, I was 17. I went back up to Kenwood, see all my friends. There was a 15-year-old who was an aspiring actor, very mature for his age. He likes me and I liked him. We had a sexual encounter. I'm 17, he's 15, okay? Which, some of my friends was like, damn, V, he kind of young. I was like, well, I mean, honestly, I didn't care, because he wasn't 12. So once again, being exposed to that. Now, first of all, I was the kind of girl, I had already been with older men. So if you was going to be 15, 16, 17, and I'm 17 being with me, you had to have something going on. I mean, I couldn't be fucking with no 12 or 13-year-old, and I'm 17, you just too little. I wasn't even going to try no shit like that. But still, I was 17, he was 15. We had a sexual encounter, and I'm quite sure it kind of changed him a little bit, because here he was with this older girl. And once I turned 18, all the men I dealt with after that were much older. Now, As I got older, when I got in my 30s, it was this trend of this cougarism. It's like, oh, okay, younger men is in. So when I was about 34, I had a little brief relationship with a 25-year-old. Now, my nephew had some friends who were just drop dead gorgeous. They were teenagers, okay? And my whole thing with that was there's always an attraction somewhere with, you have young kids that may look very attractive and they chasing older people and all of that. But as an adult, you have to say, I'm not going there. Okay, I see you when you 18. Okay, and when it came to, my nephew had a friend who looked exactly like my ex, and I was just kind of like drawn to him because he looked like my ex. But I knew that I don't do that. He's a teenager. You don't do that. And I was like, when he get 18, when he get 18. When he got 18, I didn't even want him. I was on something else. But that's the problem with these men. They can't say when she get 18, when she get 18. It's like at some point you gotta have some self-control. It's too many people out here that you can be with of age. Now, let's talk about of age, because that has been an issue. There's a difference between being age of consent and underage. And I'm going to break that down because I went and did the research and I looked all of this information up. I'm going to start with the state of Indiana. If you are 16 years old in the state of Indiana, you are of legal age to have a sexual relationship with anybody that age and over. So in the state of Indiana, a 16-year-old can have sex with a 40-year-old. Okay? I'm just letting y'all know. The age of consent in Illinois is 17. You got to go look up the law. You got to go look it up. Do the research so you'll know. Because everybody is so appalled, but look at the law. You got to go look at the law of the land and see what it says. Don't you know perpetrators? Don't you know that a lot of them, they studying the law, they trying to see what they can get away with. Let's talk about something else that was brought up. Hugh Hefner and Brooke Shields taking nude photographs at 10 years old for Sugar and Spice. And I'm going to tell you how they got away with it. Her mother signed off on it, and it was under the art statute. It was considered art. Brooke Shields was 10 years old, posing naked with oil and all this stuff on her, like she's a grown-ass woman. And were able to get away with that. When Brooke Shields became an adult, when she got older, she's been doing everything she can to get rid of it. Because, see, her mother was sick. Why would you sign off on your 10-year-old child posing nude like she's a grown-ass woman? And they were able to get away with it because she signed off on it. You see, you got a lot of these fucking parents out here that's pushing a lot of these kids. They pimping these kids out. And you cannot tell me. That's one thing that they ain't brought up in this documentary. And I don't know what's gonna come on the next episodes tonight. Maybe those episodes are gonna be more so about him allegedly holding these women hostage. But that's something they ain't talked about. You got parents pimping out their kids to these celebrities. You got parents pimping out these teenagers. I know what's going on because I work in that industry. And they want to be famous so bad, or they want their kids to be famous so bad that they let them do that kind of stuff. See, ain't nobody said nothing about that. Now, as time moved on, now, okay, so I'm gonna go back. I may jump around a little bit. I'm going up to Kenwood to see Lena Mclin, because that's what we all did. So I'm in the room with Lena. Robert comes in. He called her mom. He said, "Mom, I'm having trouble with this song, and I need you to help me with this song." And so he sung the song, and it was a beautiful song because Robert always had a beautiful voice. And so the song was about this girl he was chasing after. He was the love of his life, blah, blah, blah. And so what happened was, so when Miss Mclin got to it, she said, well, this is what you have to do. You have to put more passion, just like you driving all over the neighborhood looking for her. You have to sing it like that. So when she kind of gave him some tips on how to sing the song, then when he sung it again, it was way more passionate. And it was beautiful because, you see, there's a difference between Robert Kelly and R. Kelly. What you all have been experiencing in this documentary is Robert Kelly. See, R. Kelly is Lena Mclin. She the one that planted that seed and put all of that wonderful music in him and gave him those vocal lessons. And she just wasn't about the vocals like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, di, do. You know, it wasn't, she guided you and taught you how to express yourself, how to project, you know, and then she was like a mother to everybody. You know, would tell you, one guy told me at the Kenwood reunion last year, that she came into class one time and said, somebody in this room stole $20 out of their mother's purse, and I want you to go take it back. And the boy got up and went and left up out of there. He was so scared, I don't even know if he came back. But she had to give the ability to do that to people. So Robert was playing the piano, and I went over to him and I said, Robert, you have a beautiful voice, and I believe one day you're going to be very successful. And he said, oh, thank you. And I said, well, write your name on this piece of paper just in case you come famous one day. And so he put Robert Kelly 312. I have it, and I'm going to go to my storage bin and get it so you guys can see it. I have a lot of stuff in storage that I don't want to lose, so I keep a lot of stuff in my storage bin. But you saw my video where I showed the autograph from Oprah Winfrey from 1983. I have a lot of stuff from 30 and 35 years ago that's in storage that's precious to me. And so everybody moves on with their life. Now, here is the thing. Miss Mclin, and I'm giving you all a timeline. Miss Mclin, she retired from Kenwood in 1991. Okay. So she retired from Kenwood in 1991. Robert sung at her retirement party. That's when Vibe was out. When he was with R. Kelly in Public Announcement. He sung at her retirement party. I was living in LA. And I didn't know about it, because if I had known about it, believe me, I would have came home for it, because we love Lena, she's just, there are no words to describe how we all feel about that woman. But anyway, so if Miss Mclin is retired from Kenwood, why the fuck are you still going up there? Now, if you're not going up there to be a mentor and to share your story and to give back to the school, according to this documentary, what are you going back up to the Kenwood? I've gone back to Kenwood just to say hi, to see some of my teachers and maybe talk to the kid, but I wasn't going up there like that. So what are you doing? Now, time move on. People start talking about how Robert liked young girls. Now this was before Aaliyah. I go back with Robert Kelly to 86. And I know some people who go further back than that. Okay. So people was just, saying, oh, he liked young girls. And it didn't dawn on me till last night. I said, wait a minute. Robert, I had a good girlfriend of mine that I went to Kenwood with. Her name was Malika Kennedy. And her and Robert started dating. And I had to think about it. I said, wait a minute. Malika and I was in the same class. So if Robert started seeing Malika like 86, that would have made us 15. And I think Robert may be 4 or 5 years older than me. I forgot to look up what the age difference was. He was supposed to graduate Kenwood, they said 85. So he should be 4 to 5 years older than me. I will be 48 in February. And if she was 15 or 16, that meant that Robert was 19 or 20, dating this girl. And she used to call me on the phone complaining about him. And I'm like, girl, what's the problem? And she's like, he just don't have time for me. All he care about is music, and he just always, music is everything. And I said, Malika, that boy, he's a musician, he's a singer. I understood it because I was a drummer. So I was into music, and now I'm into production, but I got it. And I said, look, you need to stick with this dude because, he's going to be very successful. I mean, he has an amazing voice. But Malika was diva. I mean, you all have to understand the girls that went to Kenwood, we were divas. We were bougie. We were divas. We was pretty. I mean, it's to this day. It's like Kenwood Academy had all the fine girls. And that's the truth. I mean, I know I'm fine. Hey, Rico, I see you, baby. So, anyway, she didn't want to be bothered with him no more because he wouldn't give her no attention. Because he was just spending time. Now, as far as the sex, we really didn't talk about, I don't remember her sharing anything with me about that. I don't know whether they had sex or not. They probably did because, that's the kind of dude he was. And, I don't know. But I just know that she had an issue with, him in the music situation. So time move on. By this time, I'm in LA. I'm skipping around a little bit, but I moved to LA in 1988 to pursue a career in film and television production. I was going to Columbia College. Okay. So 1990, R. Kelly public announcement. It's like, wow, Robert made it. All of us that went to Kenwood, we were happy for him, And then, there was these rumors and these stories about, him liking young girls and stuff. Like, oh, okay, whatever. So, time move on. Bombshell, 1994, Robert marries Aaliyah. We like, Aaliyah? But I remember Miss Mclin had started working with her because she trained her too. And so when he married her, I called Lena and I said, Lena, Miss Mclin, I said, what do you think about this situation with Robert and Aaliyah? And she said, Valencia, he married her, so that made it honorable. But I can tell she didn't approve of any of that. She really didn't, she said, I don't really like this kind of stuff, but because he married her, so it's like Miss Mclin, you have to understand, Lena Mclin is 90 years old. She comes from an era of when a man marries a woman or a female, he's honoring what he's done. Okay. And that's how a lot of people were, but she never liked him messing with no young girls. Okay. But this one stood out because he married her. And if you think about that for a moment, that is really deep. He was 25 and she was 15. He was really in love with this girl, because how many 25-year-olds do you know that are African American men in the 90s? I'm not talking about some shit that went down in the 50s and 60s. Look, I got an aunt who her husband is 10 years, she was 15 when she got pregnant. And her husband was 10 years older than her. When she got pregnant, he married her. And she was 15 when she got pregnant. And that was back in the 50s. So in the 90s, let's think about the 90s. Let's go back and think about the 90s. How many 25-year-old men in the 90s, African American black men in the 90s, was marrying a 15-year-old? You didn't hear nothing about that. Okay, you never seen that before. So now here's the thing. If Robert had a history of messing with young girls prior to Aaliyah, because I called Quantas, and I don't know if Quantas is watching. I tagged Quantas in this. Quantas went to Kenwood. Quantas came out in 86. See, and I'm going to tell y'all, you know, Quantas probably going to get mad I tell this story. But I very much loved Quantas. And I was 15. And Quantas was like, Now I was 14. I was 14 years old when I had a crush on Quantas. Quantas was a senior, and I was a freshman. And he stayed away from me. And then he graduated. And he came back up to the school, and he saw me. And I said, well, why are you trying to talk to me now? He said, because I ain't in this school no more. You a little bit older. But he told me, Quantas told me, he said, I said, Quantas, what you think about all this stuff with Aaliyah, you know? And he like, Valencia, I was standing next to Robert when he was, because there was a school next door to Kenwood called Lewisworth. Lewisworth had that was the grammar school, okay? But here's another thing about Kenwood that a lot of people don't know. Kenwood had 7th and 8th grade. So you could go to Kenwood at 7th grade and stay for 6 years and stay all the way through your senior year, okay? Which gave Robert more access. But Quantas told me that he was standing next to Robert when he was looking at the girls in Lewisworth. So he had been doing this all this time, and that was way before he became R. Kelly. Okay, as a matter of fact, Lena Mclin was the one that gave him that name. Okay, because he was on the basketball team. And you know, when you play basketball, they put your first initial and last name. So it was R. Kelly. She went down to the basketball team and she went to the coach. She said, you got R. Kelly playing down here? Well, he can't play ball no more because he a singer. And she took him off the team. That's why I told you I stayed away from her. She was always doing stuff like that. Lena was very aggressive, and she was always pulling folks off the team and, you know, getting them in trouble, you know, moving them around and getting them in trouble with their coaches or whatever and pulling them off the team. And, you know, because she wanted him to be a singer. Lena wanted everybody to sing, you know, and if you had a voice, she was going to take care of it. I mean, you know, look, all you got to do is look up this woman's resume. Okay. Lena Mclin was to R. Kelly what Quincy Jones was to Michael Jackson. He would not have been the successful singer and songwriter he was without being a child of Dr. Lena Mclin. As a matter of fact, all of us that was under Lena Mclin's tutelage wouldn't be who we were if it wasn't for Lena Mclin. Okay, so Quantas told me that he was looking at them girls, and that was back then. Okay. So time move on. I come home one year, 96. I'm driving down the street. I look over, I see Robert. And I was like, Robert Kelly. I said, this Valencia from Kenwood, do you remember? He said, you look familiar. I think so. I said, you did it. I said, you really did it. And, keep it up. That's all I said. And asked him for his phone number or nothing like that. I, was in passing, and that was that. Okay. So time move on. He's continuing to do whatever he's doing. He didn't work with everybody. Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, whoever. And so now this sex tape comes out. So when the sex tape comes out, I call Lena. I said, Lena? She said, look, I don't know what's going on with this. I've gotten all kind of stories. People are saying that it's him. People are saying that it's not him. They're saying it's his brother. I said, well, I heard that it couldn't have been him because the guy in the tape, they say his penis was big, and they say Robert ain't that big. And she said, I heard the same thing. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm having this conversation with Lena Mclin about her Robert Kelly's penis, So now by this time I had moved back to Chicago because I moved back home in 99. Okay, and so this whole sex tape scandal started in like 2002. So they was bootlegging the tape and selling it all on the street. And I hadn't seen it as of yet. And then I saw it. Okay. And I was like, that's him, So anyway, there had been some stories about some of these girls, I guess, testifying, or, the trial was just kind of crazy. And, it's amazing to me how the creator will show you favor, and then at the end of the day he will get your ass, because Robert had so much favor shown to him in this trial. And let me tell you what happened with the trial. See, what happened was this: the prosecutor wanted to charge him with statutory rape, but they didn't think that would stick. So because it was a video, they decided to charge him with child pornography. Okay. But the reason why it didn't stick was because nobody would come forward and admit who it was on the tape. They could not tell in the tape how old the girl was. Okay. And I'm going to tell you how that's possible. I was at a grocery store, and this young man rung me up, and I swear he was 12 years old. I said, what you doing working here? You ain't nothing but 12. He said, ma'am, I'm 21. I said, you can't be 21. You look like you're 12 years old. You got some grown people, 18, 19, 20, 21, that look like they could be 12, 13, 14, 15. And the reason I know is because when I lived in LA, okay, and I worked in the movies, and there was a casting company called Central Casting. And I used to do extra work, and then, I started doing feature roles because I was on Ally McBeal. I played the church lady. You could call the casting line and see what they was looking for. They was always looking for 18 to play younger. Okay, so all those shows that came out in the 90s, like Beverly Hills 90210 and Melrose Place, and even some episodes of A Different World, a lot of those kids were 18 and over, but they was playing somebody younger. Well, because Different World was, based on college life, so all of them was older. But like Beverly Hills 90210 was about high school, okay? But when you are running a company where you just trying to get extras, you don't want to have to deal with a parent signing off just to play an extra. You deal with a parent signing off if you need a child to play a big role. When you can just find somebody who's 18, 19 to play somebody who's 15, 16 because they still look young. And you ain't really paying attention to the extras in the background. Okay? So this, I don't know if this was what the defense used, because it's been a long time since I studied that case, because I do study cases. But the reason that he was found not guilty is because, number one, his legal team kept prolonging the case. And if the case is prolonged for so many years, now the alleged victims are growing up. And what happens as you get older is that you forget shit. Okay? Not only that, if the witness was 12 or 13 at the time, now she's 18. So if the jury is looking at an 18-year-old as opposed to a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, it's hard for them in their mind, you know, to come to conclusions. See, all of this stuff is strategic. Now, there was so much crazy shit that happened during this R. Kelly trial. In fact, if you go back and review it, the judge fell off a ladder and broke his leg or something. And then that was another issue that they had to prolong the case. And I'm like, Yahweh has really got Robert in his face. What is he about to do? And I bet a girl $50 I said he gonna get off. I knew he was gonna be found not guilty because it was just, the case was just too messy. See? And one of the things that people don't want to talk about, and one of my Valencia sisters, Diva Valencia, I'm in a group on Facebook called I Am Valencia. And you have to be, your name have to be Valencia, you know, in the group. She posted and she was attacked. She said, you know, what about all these fast-ass girls chasing these grown-ass men? And how many of y'all was out there 14, 15, 16 years old having sex with grown men? I had to raise my hand. I mean, let's talk about that, y'all. Listen, let me tell you something. I am not trying to diminish these girls' story. I am not trying to diminish these victims, okay? I'm not trying to diminish them at all. But everybody that was a willing participant that played a role in this has to be held accountable and take responsibility for their part in it, okay? His handlers, these girls. Listen, you can say he coerced them all day long. Let me tell you something. How many of you all out there have tried to coerce a 5 or 6 year old to get them to do something that you want them to do and they just will not do it? Okay? And I'm talking about a kid 5, 6, 7 years old. They're gonna be like, I ain't doing it. Nope, nope, They will throw a tantrum, act a fool. They are stubborn and stuck in their ways, and they will not follow what you want them to do. Okay? So you cannot, don't sit up here and tell me these girls knew what the fuck they were doing. I'm telling you, I was one of them. I was 13 years old, chasing a 20-year-old man who happened to be a virgin and seduced him into having sex with me. I knew exactly what I was doing at 13 because I had been molested as a child, exposed to sex, and started studying sex. I became addicted to sex. I became addicted to oral sex because of what happened to me. So I knew exactly what I was doing. And them girls knew what they was doing. It did not make it right because he, as an adult, should have used better judgment. Okay? Now, And I ain't gonna tell you where to find it because I was doing research last night and I actually found some of the tapes. And I was appalled at the fact that these damn tapes of videos are still out there, even on the internet. And I'm not trying to be all graphic, but if you look at the tape of the alleged 14-year-old performing oral sex on him, she didn't seem afraid. She seemed like she was okay. You know, she wasn't like, you know, she wasn't doing all of that. And then there was one scene, I don't know if y'all remember, where the girl was dancing, calling him daddy, and then she was riding him like a grown ass woman. Okay, and let me say this. There has not been one fucking report that Robert Kelly forced himself on any of these girls. There ain't been no rape reports where he used force. These girls were willing participants. And my issue is, why? These girls got caught up in his celebrity. Some of their parents got caught up in his celebrity. And he used that to manipulate and maneuver and make them praise and go after that. And that's what he did. And that's what makes him wrong. He said in one of his interviews that he had a problem. He said that. This is an addiction. See? And when you're addicted to something, then you are not thinking clearly. Let's go back to Natalie Cole. Natalie Cole was so addicted to cocaine that when she got arrested, when she said when she was in the police car and they had her handcuffed, she took a vial of cocaine and pushed it down into the police seat. Okay? When she got released, do you know Natalie Cole went back to find that police car? And I don't even know how the damn police door was open, but the police door was open, and she went back in there and she found that cocaine. She dug down in there and found that cocaine. Now, how bold is that? You got to really be addicted to something. You just get arrested for possession of cocaine. You had the cocaine in the police car, and then when you get out of jail, you go back to the police car. And I'm thinking to myself, where was the police? How was she able to get in there and get it and got that cocaine? That's addiction. Robert had been messing with these young girls all these years. He go through a court case that took 5 years, was found not guilty. He still didn't learn his lesson because one of the girls that was on there last night met him at the courthouse. You mean to tell me you are that addicted and that sick to where you going through a trial, being accused of child pornography, and then you get acquitted of all these counts, and you still messing with these girls? But see, let me tell you, that girl who was 16 lied and said she was 19. Well, you know, he never probably asked for no ID. And the issue that I have with her is the fact that she was up in his house. Sometimes he would starve her. He made her walk around half naked or whatever, calling him daddy. I mean, all of that was pimp moves. He was pimping these girls. He was grooming them to have this harem of women. Okay? And he was trying to, you know, control them. Their every move. He was very controlling. Now, let me say this, because I'm going to go back to high school. I I have never had that experience with Robert Kelly. Robert was always respectful towards me. He never tried no kind of shit like that with me. Because I don't know if he knew my reputation, but if Billy and Terry and Quantas is on, they'll tell you Valencia would fight a dude. Okay, I would have kicked his motherfucking ass. Ain't no way he would have did that shit to me. There was a motherfucker fucking with me at Kenwood one time. Can't remember. It was 32 years ago. But somebody had broke a parking meter. That parking meter was laying on the ground, and I picked up that parking meter, baby. I was ready to beat the shit out of some damn body. Because I wasn't the one to be fucking. Don't fuck with me today. I ain't scared to fight no dude. Okay? Now, I may not be Mike Tyson or whatever, you know what I'm saying, and all that kind of stuff, but I'll pick up some shit, knock the fuck out of you, and I'll cut your ass. You have to understand. I'm 5'1", I'm pretty, and motherfuckers try to come for me, you know, and I got to handle my business. So I never experienced him like that. What I'm trying to understand, going back to this girl, he told her, go out and find another girl. And that's what pimps do. Once they got you groomed to where they want you to be, then they send you out to recruit other girls. So he done sent her out to recruit another girl. So she goes and gets this girl, bring her back. She specifically said that they on text message, sneaking and texting each other on how they gonna meet up at the bathroom. And they comparing notes on how he done smacked the shit out of both of them. You gonna sit there and tolerate that? Now here's where I have a problem with this story. If Robert was so controlling and had them follow, had they every move watched, why the fuck he didn't take their phones? Why didn't he take the phones from them? I mean, Andrea talked about how her cell phone number was changed. You see, he married her, and that was a different situation, okay? But I'm just trying to understand that whole scenario. These girls was having conversations about how they did some shit that he felt was disrespectful, and he's smacking the shit out of both of them. Okay? Now, I'm sorry. Them damn bitches wanted to be there. Y'all can get mad at me all you want to, but if you having conversations, texting each other back and forth, and he said he didn't want them on the phone, but they on the motherfucking telephone, why couldn't they text 911? When she went out of the house to recruit the other girl, why did she call the police? Why did she tell her mother what was going on? And then all of y'all want to say, well, he didn't got inside their mind, and you know, he had them under mind control and all this kind of stuff. Listen, if them girls had went somewhere, if they had went to a restaurant to order some food, and they would say, look, I want chicken, I don't want no steak, they're going to get what they asked for. And the point I'm trying to make is, you, no matter what age you are, you allow somebody to do that shit to you. I just used an example as a 5 or 6 year old who would throw a tantrum, won't they way. These girls was not hollering and screaming and throwing tantrums trying to have their way. Okay, they just let him do whatever he wanted to do to them because he was R. Kelly. And he humiliated them, he manipulated them, and made a fool out of them. And the point I'm trying to make with this video is, all you young people out there who aspire to be in the entertainment industry or who want to be groupies and hang out with celebrities, do not allow anyone to disrespect you, humiliate you, and negate you. It don't matter who the fuck they are. Okay? Now, all of y'all know that I love me some Michael Jackson. That's my heart and soul. But I have said this, and Rico can tell you, if Michael would have ever got out of pocket with me, I would have cursed his ass out, because I'm from the south side of Chicago and I don't give a fuck who you are. I'm going to say what the fuck I feel to anybody I fucking want to. Now, I'm not saying it don't have no consequences, okay? But I'm going to tell you how I feel. And I don't care who you are. I'm not going to allow you to treat me like nothing just because you some celebrity. I'm a celebrity too, motherfucker. I'm the Madam Ambassador of house music, the mother of the universe. I am the sun, big, round, yellow, and hot. What you want to do? You're not going to treat me. And I've always been that way from the time I was a child. But I do understand that there are young people out there that don't have that kind of confidence and that kind of strength. You have to understand that me and Robert and all of us that went to Kenwood, we came up in an era, and even those of you all that's in your 40s and 50s, we came up in an era where it wasn't no social media. You didn't have all that kind of stuff. So a 16-year-old from 1987 is going to be different from a 16-year-old in 1997 and a 16-year-old in 2007 or a 16-year-old in 2017. It's a whole different type of generation. Their mentality, they're going to see things different. You know, when I was growing up, if somebody was bullying you in school, y'all fought it out after school. Now you got people, you know, what has happened in our society is that we allow social media and we allow Facebook and social media to dictate our lives and our feelings. You mean to tell me that I will be sitting here all upset about some motherfuckers I don't even know that said some shit on the internet about me and ain't showed my face? Motherfucker, meet me on the corner of Madison and Pulaski. Because I got something for your ass. They ain't going to show up. All these motherfuckers out here on social media attacking people. Come meet somebody in person. They hide behind computers. They hide behind their laptops. They hide behind their tablets. They hide behind their phone. But they ain't going to come in your face with it because they fucking cowards. I've told several people to meet me at the Starbucks. Let's talk in person about it. They don't want to do it. See, so you allowing motherfuckers to bully you, you don't even fucking know. You can, and listen, and I'm not saying that, you know, strangers can say shit to hurt your feelings. I mean, going back to the era that we came up in, you know, Michael Jackson talked about how people would say things about him. He said, you know, he was in the airport or something, and some lady said he had pimples and thought he was ugly, and that hurt his feelings. But that was in his face, you know, and he would get very upset if people said negative things about him. But after a while, he developed thick skin, and his mother told him, you can't live your life trying to please other people's fantasies, and you just can't do that. You were beautiful from the day you was born. You see, and that's what the problem. You see, we're getting ready to have a fundraiser, and the link is on this live. We're having an event January 15th. It's Martin Luther King's 90th birthday celebration, and it's a fundraiser for the Covenant House. And the Covenant House is a youth shelter that takes in youth 18 to 24. And we're trying to bring attention to young people in the foster care system. They get aged out of the system at 18. They can opt to stay in until they're 21. But if you are able to become free in the foster care system at 18, you wouldn't opt to stay in when you're 21. But if you get out at 18 and you have no direction, no life skills, no job, no housing, what are you going to do? So the Covenant House, they will house you. And if they don't have any room, you can go there every day and take a shower and get fed. as long as you join their life skills program. And they have all kind of programs where they'll help you find a job, find housing, and come up with options, to help you, on your journey and that transition and growing up. Okay. So we wanted to do that because it starts with our youth. Okay. What are we teaching our kids? Going back to these young girls, we have to start taking better care of our children. Okay. And let me tell you something. I know some teenage girls today. I knew them today, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, who would have kicked Robert's ass. They would have been like, motherfucker, hell no. And would have been kicking him in his dick and screaming and hollering and acting a fool. See, Robert knew who to deal with. You have to understand, when you in that type of situation, he knew that there were certain women or certain young girls that wasn't gonna go for that shit. And listen, let me tell you something. If these girls had not been willing, Robert would have been walking around the world like, damn, I can't get nobody. You see, it's power in the pussy, honey. It starts with us as females, as young women. We control that shit. A man can't do shit to us unless he forces himself on us. If it ain't forced, we allow that shit into our space. And that's what's gotta stop. Okay, and I hope y'all share this video with young kids, with young girls, because these celebrities, I'm telling you, they ain't worth it. Okay? And let me tell you something else. There were stories, and I'm not gonna say the name of who this person was, because she told me this in confidence. But there had always been rumors about Robert being funky. Okay, that he stunk all the time. And as a matter of fact, if Robert Cedar, he probably gonna figure out who it is, but it don't matter. But one of my good colleagues, who actually should have been in the movie, she told me Robert used to come and perform at her club, and she said he was so funky that she ended up installing a shower in her club so he would be clean when he came up in there. I said, well, that is some high-tech funk, when somebody purposely put in a shower in their establishment for the tap. I said, that is really something. I said, are you serious? She said, girl, please. Now, I'm not going to reveal who that person is because I don't want to damage my relationship with her. But that's another thing. If you go and look at the footage from a year or so ago, where this woman was, she fell on hard times and she ran into Robert, and he said he would give her $3,000 if she would, perform oral sex on him. And she did it, he didn't pay. And she talked about how he was just stinking, and that just infuriated me and just really disgusted me. Sucking a nasty, funky ass dick. I don't give a fuck if you are. I don't care who you are. Not gonna do it. And if people want to talk about he peed on this girl, he urinated on her, once again, there are certain things that I just would not want to do on video, and that would be one of them. If I was the pisser, I wouldn't even want to put that on video. I mean, that's just sick for it to be, And the thing of it is, why would you allow that? Okay? These girls just allowed him to just do all kind of crazy stuff. Okay, none of them tried to get together. Did y'all see Foxy Brown or whatever the movie was in Pam Grier, where all the girls got together and beat the shit out of the pimp? It was opportunities. They just didn't go in that direction. Okay. And at the end of the day, this young lady didn't come forward. She said it wasn't her. Sparkle said she don't know if her family was paid off or not. Okay. So my whole thing is Robert probably ended up, he probably paid him off because that's what rich people do. They think they can just buy their way out of shit. Okay, and he probably did. But at the end of the day, wherever this young lady is, I'm just wondering, wherever she is, was it worth it at the end of the day? Did you become the celebrity or the star that you wanted to become? Did you become that rapper that you wanted to become? And if you did, this was your sacrifice. You have to live with this kind of shit. And what I want to say to Robert, because Robert, this is Valencia, and we go back. We are children of Lena Mclin. You're going to have to stop running from Yahweh. You have been running inside your mind all these years. You've been trying to run from Yahweh. You've been trying to run from God. You can't do it. And I'm going to tell you why. One of my DJ friends called me. One of my colleagues called me and told me he worked with Robert. And he said, Robert is, he's scared to fly. Because he said all the shit he done did, he think if he get in the airplane, God gonna do something to him. You see how twisted your mind is, Robert Kelly? You see how twisted his mind is? Don't you understand that if God is trying to get you, he don't need to wait for you to get in the airplane. And if you look at the statistics, now I'm scared of flying too. So I understand that part of it. But if you look at the statistics, you are safer in the air than you are on the ground. What Robert needs to do, what you need to do, Robert Kelly, is you need to go and get counseling. And you need to check yourself into a clinic, and you need to get on your knees, and you need to pray, and you need to face your demons, and you need to face the Holy Spirit. And you need to admit what you have done, and you need to make amends for it. Because I'm telling you right now, the eternal lake of fire that you in right now is going to be turned up and only going to get worse. Okay? And the thing that really bothers me is the fact that why do this to Dr. Mclin? We never wanted to see Lena hurt and put her through anything. We're supposed to be children of Lena Mclin. We're supposed to be the kids that she's proud of. You bring this kind of shame and embarrassment and sickness to her legacy. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that Lena's going to always have a positive legacy, and it's not her fault that this happened. But I'm saying that if you should really think about anybody, think about her. Think about your children. Okay? Think about how this is going to follow them for the rest of their life. You really need to think about that. People don't understand how all of this affects everybody. It has an effect. I mean, I cried when I saw this because it brought back those memories of the beginning of him. And he always, he either would run from Lena when all this stuff came up, he would run from her because you see, that's what he does. Robert is a runner, okay? He don't like to face reality and face the truth of stuff. He'll run. So she, over the years, when I would talk to her, she would get on him about some of his lyrics and some of all this sexual stuff and all this kind of stuff, and he would run from it because he didn't want to hear it. And one time she got on him so bad he started crying. Oh yeah, he cried. You know, because honey, Lena Mclin got that kind of power. She would make you cry. She would beat you up so bad with her words, honey, you be in tears. She didn't play that kind of stuff, you know. And so one of the conversations I had with her, I said, Lena, I saw the tape. It was him. She said it was. I said, yes, it was him. And she said, you know, I went out of my way and was trying to be a character reference for him. And she said, you know, Valencia, I honestly did not know if it was him on that tape. I said, Lena, it was him. And she said, that's just a shame. And I could just hear, you know, the disappointment in her voice. And to just hear, you know, my music teacher just, you know, feel disappointed like that, it hurt me. Because it was like, if I said that it was him, she said, well, she told me that. She said, if you said it's him, she said, I guess it's him. I said, it was him, Lena, on that tape. I saw the tape, and it was him. And it just took her back to where she went through the whole motions of how she defended him and how she talked about his being a character reference and how, you know, she just didn't really want this to be what it was. And she, you know, she tried to just be there for him. The reality of it was that was him on that tape. And that's what he was. And she even told him. And you heard her on the movie. She said, I told him to leave these girls alone and to stay away from them. But he's addicted. He has an addiction. When you have an addiction, you're not going to listen to reason. So at one point, now the one thing that Robert will do, and we had to get on him about this. You know, when I talked to Lena a couple of years ago and she was having some issues with her condo, and I said, well, Lena, did you call Robert? And she said, well, I don't even want to talk to him because, you know, he lies, he plays games, and I don't have time. I want to deal with that. I said, well, he needs to help you. And so I said, let me see what I can do. So I reached out to Vince Lawrence, who's one of my house music brothers who worked with Robert. And I also reached out to Steve Silhurley, who done some remixes for Robert. And I told them both that she had had a stroke and that she was having some difficulties and Robert needs to help her. And I wasn't the only one. A lot of us that went to Kenwood, you know, was reaching out to him and saying, look, you need to help her. If it wasn't for Lena Mclin, there'd be no R. Kelly. So finally I called her again. I said, did Robert call you? And she said, yeah, he called me. He said he was jogging and he called me back. Typical Robert. So he ended up doing this fundraiser and, you know, he ended up giving the money and doing that, you know, and it's sad to say he came through for her, you know, before he even paid probably his child support, which he needs to take care of. Okay. And the things that his wife, Andrea, talked about, just horrific, you know, and I'm not trying to diminish Andrea. Because Andrea's sister, I love you. You know, one of your good friends is my good friend. Tony is I haven't talked to Tony in a long time. The only thing that I'm curious about is the fact that all the time that you were with him and he was trying to boss you around, you know, and why did it take you that long to like call the police, scream domestic violence, or when you was out shopping with the bodyguard, you could have started screaming and hollering? I mean, I'm just really I'm not trying to beat up on nobody, but I am just, oh, Jimmy, thank you. He said, I love you, my friend, and I really commend you on your honesty and candor. I love you. You Jimmy was one of those boys I was chasing in grammar school. I mean, I was a bad girl. And I was like, when stuff happened to you, I mean, when I talked about being, for a lot of y'all are tuning in now, but earlier I talked about being sexually abused and sexually active, and what it did, it turned me into, I was abused and it turned me into an abuser. I'm out there and a little kid running around, chasing boys, grabbing their penises, grabbing their ass, chasing boys. Even in college, one of my college mates, he was drunk, and I was trying to take advantage of him while he was drunk. And we was grown, but still, because you're young, you're aggressive, and you want what you want, and then you grew up with this kind of stuff. That's why whatever I can do to try to save a child's life, whatever I can do for children to protect them, because I would never want them to experience what I experienced. You see, the one thing all of y'all beating up on Robert Kelly, y'all beating him up, calling him a monster, and saying all these heinous things about him, he was a victim too. He was a victim that turned into that. Okay? And the difference between me and Robert, and it ain't a lot of difference between me and Robert. The difference between me and Robert is I had more self-control. At some point, I was like, nah, I'm not going to go that far. Okay? And I can only imagine, I was molested once at 5 years old. Robert was molested from 7 to 12. For 5-6 years of his life, he was molested by a man. Can you imagine that? So no wonder he's fucked up. And I don't care what nobody say. When you go through that, you gonna be fucked up. You just gonna be fucked up, y'all. It's what it is. Robert is fucked up because of what happened to him as a child. I am fucked up because what happened to me as a child. And I transferred that energy onto other people. And I'm sorry that I did. But I was fucked up. He's fucked up. But at some point, you got to get help. You got to reach out. You got to let people help you. See, there's a different standard when you're a woman than when you are a man. Because if I was a man telling this story, you would see it differently. I was just as bad. I was a kid, running around, a little girl running around trying to push myself off on other boys. Chasing the boys on the playground, trying to touch them sexually. I'm doing this at 10, 11, 12, 13. Messing with boys, having sex with grown men. See, because of what happened to me. And that's why I wanted, when all this came out, I said, well, I need to tell my story, because not only was I a victim, but I also was a perpetrator. I might not have been 40 years old messing with a 13-year-old, but I was still aggressive towards men because of what happened to me. It's just by the grace of the Holy Spirit that I was given enough from Yahshua, Jesus, to contain myself and control that, and to meditate and to get help. And even in my 30s, because it got to a point, I was abused a lot as a kid. So the one thing I knew that I could do well was sex. You know, I had practiced, I was oral sex, you know, I mean, I'm just keeping it real. I will just tell you the truth. You can ask my friends that went to Kenwood. They all said it. Valencia was the best dick sucker in the world. They all said it. That's what I had that reputation. Okay, I could suck peanut butter through a straw. I'm just keeping it real. That's what it was. And it was because I was so beat up and so abused by my mother that the one thing that I knew I could do right was sex and oral sex. Okay, I perfected those crafts, but all of that started because at 5 years old, somebody molested me, and it opened up my sexuality, and then I became addicted to sex, and then I started chasing boys, and then I started chasing men, and then as I got older, I liked younger guys. Okay. So that's why we have to protect our kids. This is what happened to R. Kelly. He was sexually molested from 7 to 12. And as he grew up and got older in that, he became a predator because he was preyed upon and he turned into what was done to him. And he never went and got help. That's what happened to him. And it didn't matter that he had a beautiful voice. That's the problem that a lot of us are having. It's like, how can this guy who wrote I Believe I Can Fly and I Wish and all these beautiful songs just be a monster, just do these heinous things? Listen, the devil was beautiful, a beautiful angel, beautiful songwriter, was directing the choir, great musician. You can't get caught up in that. You need to understand something. Robert Kelly and R. Kelly are two different people. And you got to separate that. And our minds are fucked up because we thinking about I Believe I Can Fly and all these beautiful songs, and then on the other side of our head, we're looking at the shit this motherfucker did. So the question is, how do we move forward? Robert, how are you going to move forward? What are you going to do? The best thing for Robert Kelly to do right now is to hold a press conference and to say, listen, everything they said, I did. I'm fucked up. I was wrong. And I'm going to repent. I'm going to make this up to all of the people that I hurt. I'm going to go to rehab for this sex addiction. I'm going to be an advocate to try to help other people watch out for people like me. He's going to have to face this. Okay, all this trying to sue Lifetime and for telling the story and all this, no. Just admit what you did. If I can come on a live video and talk about how I was molested, and then I turned around and started chasing and doing shit that I had no business doing, having sex with grown ass men and chasing boys and all this kind of stuff growing up, then you certainly can do it. We have to heal. It's time for us to heal behind this. This is very painful. A lot of y'all sitting out there on the outside looking in and saying all this stuff. You did not know this man. I knew Robert Kelly personally. And I saw who he was in Lena Mclin's class. Okay? I'm just telling you. He's going to have to face the music. Because he has completely ruined his life. He has affected other people's lives, his children, by his behavior. And he's just going to have to face this and man up and stop running from yourself. Everywhere you go, you take yourself with you. Everywhere you go, Yahweh is there. David said, if I make my bed in hell, he's there. You can't escape yourself, and you can't escape the Creator. You cannot escape it. You're going to have to face that. What kind of life are you going to have now? What kind of life is your children going to have? And Andrea, I love you. My heart goes out to you. And I hope you can get counseling and heal about, behind this. And let me say this earlier, but some new people have come on. We in the community, I come from a biracial family, you know, and I consider myself multiracial. I grew up with all kind of different races around me. And Kenwood was a melting pot, okay? But my mother, she grew up in the Black church. Okay, and a lot of us that grew up in a Black church is Jesus gonna fix it. Jesus gonna fix it. We gotta stop with this Jesus fix it movement and go and get some fucking help. Children are being hurt. Children are being pimped. Children are being molested. People are becoming perpetrators. People are hurt. People are in pain. We gotta get some therapy. We gotta get some help. We got to heal ourselves, or it's going to go on and on and on and on. Let me tell you something about Jesus fix it. His name is Yahshua, but you know him as Jesus. He had sense enough to walk around with people that had swords, which means he had some assistance. You need help. You cannot do this by yourself. He did not do this by himself. What about all the people who played a part in this? They need to be held accountable. His handlers that was going out talking to these girls. What about them? What about these girls' parents that pimped them to R. Kelly? What about that? What about these fast-ass girls chasing after him? All down at the courthouse. What about that? We have to start teaching our kids. Don't chase after grown people. Don't chase after celebrities. Hone your own craft. I'm telling you, y'all, I'm in the entertainment industry. This is the most satanic, evilest ass, hellion ass business. There's a lot of fucked up, heinous shit that go on in here. And let me tell you something. In 2009, the Holy Spirit came to me and spoke to me and completely cleansed my soul and made me stop having sex. I ain't had sex with a man since 2009. And some of my friends can't even believe it. They like, Valencia, as much as you love dick, bitch, I do not believe this. I have not had any physical dick since 2009 because God changed my life. And he told me, he said, I'm going to prepare you for your husband and you're going to be celibate. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You know, what am I supposed to do? He said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Okay. And I'm just going to tell you, for the last 9 years, I've been having some real good wet dreams and I'm fine. Okay. I'm not saying I don't desire it sometimes, but I'm telling you what Yahshua can do. Here I was, a girl who had been sexually abused, and then I started abusing sex myself and was addicted. And then he just turned my life around and made me stop all of that. So there's nothing that Yahweh can't do. There's nothing that God can't do. He stopped that with me. And I'm a different person now. So, Robert, let me say this to you because somebody needs to say this to you. This Valencia from Lena Mclin music class, Kenwood. Let me tell you this. I love you. My heart goes out to you. I'm disappointed. I'm hurt at all of this situation, but you're going to have to get some help. You're going to have to go to counseling, and you're going to have to admit what you did, and you're going to have to face it. And if you don't do that, it's going to be hell to pay. I'm telling you right now, you will end up in eternal damnation. And that could be your destiny anyway. I don't know what the Holy Spirit got in store for you. But I know one thing, you have made a mark in this world as being one of the greatest recording artists, singers, and songwriters. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to the children, and you owe it to the community to face this and man up and get the help that you need and try to help others heal. That's all I can say. I'm going to watch the rest of it tonight. I want you guys to come out Tuesday, January 15th, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. The link is on this Facebook Live commentary. It's the Martin Luther King 90th birthday celebration. We got Sharon Pass coming to sing The Word is Love. We got Rico Michael Jackson coming to do his thing. And my girl, Dorothy Brown. You see I'm wearing her shirt. Dorothy Brown for mayor is a guest speaker. Dorothy is very concerned about our youth. This is a fundraiser for the Covenant House, which is a youth shelter that provides services for youth 18 to 24 that are being aged out of the foster care system, y'all. It's time for us to start healing. It's time for us to start loving each other and protecting our children and teaching our children. Hallelujah. Good night.